Once upon a time there was a wonderful kingdom, with beautiful meadows and a great palace. The ruler of this kingdom was righteous and wise. One day, two beautiful sons were born to the king and his wife. The twins looked exactly alike. There was only one difference. One boy had white hair like sunlight, and the other boy had hair as dark as night. Over the years, both boys became smarter, wiser, and stronger. They spent all their time together, competing with each other in everything. They competed to see who could run the fastest, who was the strongest, who could jump the highest, and many other things. The palace was surrounded by high walls, with 4 strong towers at every corner. The two boys, who were named Reuben and Stein, often ran up the stairs of the tower. Once, they had a competition, who could count the number of steps more accurately. Both boys counted exactly 64 steps up the tower, and they were both correct. And so they grew up, challenging each other in every possible way, and in time became handsome young men. One day the king decided to step down from the throne and give the kingdom to one of his sons. But to whom? He loved both of his sons equally, and each of them would have made a very good ruler. The king simply could not decide. So the two boys agreed that they would have a contest. They decided that since the new king would have to rule the country, they would have a leadership contest. Each boy would create his own army and lead it, so they could see which of them would make the best and smartest leader. Stein, the black-haired boy, wanted to make sure his brother couldn't see his plans for battle and his strategies. He decided to build his own palace, at the other end of the kingdom, and prepare his army there. When his palace was finished, complete with castle walls and towers, Stein and the soldiers moved in and wore dark-colored uniforms. He also decided to set up his army so that the soldiers could do the best possible job of protecting each other. In the first rank he put the foot soldiers, because they could defend themselves well by holding the shields in front. Behind them came the soldiers of the highest rank and the siege towers. Riders could even throw their horses when necessary. Next to the king and his queen stood the bishops, wise officers. Meanwhile, Reuben was working out his battle plans. And since he thought similarly to his brother, his battle plan was also alike. He raised his army in the same way and wore light-colored uniforms. The battle between the two boys lasted a long time, but since they were brothers and loved each other, ordered their soldiers not to harm the king of the other side. Whenever the king, Reuben or Stein, was in danger, the soldiers had to shout, "Check!" to warn the king. Between battles there were times of peace, and they used this time to rest. During his time off, Stein often visited his parents, the old king and queen, at their palace, and they were always happy to see him. There Stein had an idea: let's build a little battlefield out of wood, and let's carve soldiers for the armies, and we can sit at a table by the fire and carry on the battle that way. And so they did. They made a flat wooden board, which they divided into squares, and to distinguish the squares, they painted each square with different colors, one light square next to a dark one. Then they carved soldiers for each army and placed these pieces of wood at each end of the board, in exactly the same order as the real soldiers. It was agreed that the light-colored army should always go first. So Reuben always made the opening move. This turned out to be a great game. Both boys had to think as hard to win this game as they did when leading a real army. At the end of every game, they always shook hands and thanked each other for the game. They called the game chess. By playing this game, they became smarter and wiser, and were no longer playing to see who would rule the kingdom. However, they never stopped playing chess and never stopped competing with each other.